All right, I think we're live. Moonshot Dispatch back, 20th of May 2025. A huge week in the news. Not least because Nick has been the focal point of huge controversy on the internet this week.
Yep,
Don't say anything negative about Donald Trump.
Sorry.
Yeah, some bloke out the back of God knows where might rip into you for the world's greatest president.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Everyone's allowed their opinions.
Why do you dislike Donald Trump so much?
Oh, it's not the man, it's what he does. You know, the actions maketh man, etc.
Donald Trump's been great for crypto.
Yeah.
Bitcoin this week, probably the highlights everyone knows, just 3% below all-time highs. Hopefully we see a new all-time high and beyond pretty soon. The other big news, Moody downgrades US bonds. So it's causing some carrying on in the market. And some forecasts, pretty crazy forecast for Bitcoin coming in. 21 shares forecasting Bitcoin to reach 210,000 AUD. Would love to see that. But also a big week in the news this week. But first of all, Nick, how you been?
I'm good. Yeah, good.
Apart from causing controversy?
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun doing these podcasts when, you know, the price is extremely robust and everyone's feeling good. We haven't really done one yet where the price has been down. You know, is it correlation? Is it causation? I won't suggest, but yeah, no, great to be back.
Great to be back. All right. So the news this week, probably for Australian audiences, definitely. There's the AFR is reporting on a fairly interesting case. So there's been a case, just for a bit of background. Former AFP officer William Wheatley accused of stealing 81 Bitcoin. Now his lawyers have been out in court defending him, saying that Bitcoin is not actually property but information.
I love this. They're like, it can't be stolen because it's not property. How? Just because it's just crazy.
Well, you're going to tell us more about it in a second, but I guess the crazy thing about this, the interesting thing that may come out of this is a Victorian magistrate ruled that Bitcoin should be treated as money, not property, which, you know, is at odds with what the ATO has been ruling, saying it's property and it should be taxed. You know, if you sell it for a gain, you have to pay capital gains tax. Something that's not the case with money. But
Yeah.
Here we go. So talk us through it. What's the news?
I mean, this thing happened quite a while ago. The police officer, William Wheatley, decided to take some Bitcoin with him after they raided some baddie. And it was a real amateur job. Like, he didn't, you know, it was just like, they were like, so where's the Bitcoin? He's like, I don't know. And they're like, it's there, you took it. And he's like, oh yeah, all right. You know, it just seems like it seemed like a total amateur hour thing. He thought he'd give it a go. I'm guessing in his head, he's like, no one understands this stuff yet. I can do whatever I want.
What was when did this happen?
Oh, a long time ago. Like, I can't remember. It was 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
and he just thought
it's
no
just
one
been
would
working its way
check.
through the courts, I guess. Yeah, and you know, it was discovered very quickly. It's not like he got away with it for ages. And then I'm pretty sure it happened all quite quickly. Yeah, but so his defense lawyers are trying to argue that Bitcoin is not property, and therefore can't be stolen, which is, you know, you tell that to everyone else's Bitcoin that's got stolen. No, don't worry about it. It wasn't actually stolen because it's not property. It just makes no sense. It's a stupid argument, but you know, they've got to try what they got to try to. This is how the courts work, I suppose. I've never been, so I wouldn't know. But it's, you know, the stuff that you hear is can be kind of funny like this. Anyway, the judge sort of backflipped, and I don't think the judge agreed with this guy. But the judge then made this interesting comment. And I've written it down here because it's. So they said, I find the argument that cryptocurrency has not yet reached a state that is comfortably analogous to a form of money unpersuasive. Now there's like 3 different negatives in there, but basically they're saying if it's not money, then therefore it's money. Yeah. They're basically saying, look, there's no great argument at the moment to suggest that you can't categorize Bitcoin as money. It's, you know, if it were property, it would, you know, have these other sort of characteristics, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously people have then latched onto that idea and gone, oh, holy crap, if Bitcoin's money, then all
give me my capital gains tax
I've paid. And they're suggesting sort of between 2019 and, you know, at some point in the future. So theoretically, you'll be able to retrospectively go back and claim your capital gains, which would be nice. Of course, I haven't sold any Bitcoin ever, so no capital gains.
not for a profit anyway.
Yeah, yes, yeah, heavy losses. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, how does it move from here? I was having a chat with some of the guys in the office about this actually, and I guess the idea would be, you know, the the judge makes this claim, and that's it in isolation. Someone's then going to go and have to sue the ATO and say, hey, this judge, it has been ruled on that Bitcoin is money, therefore I shouldn't have to pay any tax. The ATO is wrong. That court would have to agree and say, oh yes, there's precedence here with this other judge and blah blah blah. But then the thing is, the government can just then go and say, oh actually, guys, please, here's some legislation that says Bitcoin is property and you do owe us taxes. So yeah, I mean, it's not a get out of jail free. Chances of this actually being realised is probably pretty low. But
interesting one.
It's a cool idea.
Interesting one to watch. All right, on the global scene, so we talked about last week the Genius Act. It looks like it was going back into. It had to go back in front of the House of Reps or the Senate, whatever it got to, for amendments. Yeah. And those amendments actually seemed fairly technical. It wasn't seen so much as a blocking as opposed to a, hey, if we're going to do this, let's get it right. So there's some negotiations on it. And that went through, I believe, so there was a vote on that this morning. I believe it's gone through.
Yep. Yeah, so we did talk about this one last week. You need a minimum of 60 votes to go to cloture. The idea with cloture is you stop, mucking around and actually get it on the floor and vote for it. That was blocked last week. I think they got 48 out of 48 for 49 against or something like that, which isn't close to 60, so they weren't there. They've come back, changed a couple of things, which all seem kind of reasonable. They're sort of saying things like, no yield earning stable coins can be created through this process. They've created, various that made it quite stringent if you're internal to the US to create a stable coin, and even more so if you're external and all this kind of stuff. There's bankruptcy sort of procedures and stuff as well. And it's been enough. So I think there were 67 people who voted in favour, and now it goes to the floor for a real discussion, and hopefully if everything continues it'll get through, which would be good.
That'll be great for the stablecoin market, which is huge. $250 billion already of issued stablecoins. So it's not a trivial amount, and growing, as we know. So yeah, you'd like to think that we could get some regulation on that pretty soon, and maybe some other jurisdictions can follow suit to help that section grow.
I mean, this is the US, obviously, and it makes total sense, right? Because all of the stablecoins are basically US dollar denominated. So they need to get their foot in the door and make a move here.
Seems to be going well. Okay, so some other news from Decrypt this week. Jamie Dimon, who's everyone knows he hates Bitcoin, and he shut it down and waits. Yeah, I don't know why he hates it so much, but he does, apparently.
Killed his father, I think. So it's a vendetta. He's got
Yeah, okay, well, that's not going to let him stand in the way of making $1 out of it. So he is now prepared. He said the bank will include Bitcoin in its client statements. Won't offer custody services for Bitcoin, but will allow their customers to buy it. So that is, yes. So, I mean, again, it's just one of these things, even if, you might not like it personally, but it's coming around. People are coming around to it. And
I mean, this is like he's getting dragged along by everyone else, I think, at this point. And I get, he's a smart dude. He's, the most successful private banker in the world since whenever. I think he sees the writings on the wall. He's got to get with it. I mean, clearly he's only offering it to Bitcoin at this stage. He's not interested in any other cryptocurrency, which is understandable. And also, interestingly, he's not against the idea, like the technology. So he's been pro blockchain stuff for quite a while. He's just hated Bitcoin. Yeah, the JPM coin stuff, that private blockchain. But he's just hated Bitcoin for some reason. He thinks it's just fraud, only for fraud and whatnot. Anyway, clearly hasn't looked at it properly. But hopefully this is step one to him doing a big turnaround. And, it's like Saylor originally hated Bitcoin as well. And now he's the biggest Bitcoin bull. Like, he'll come around. Yeah,
he'll come around. They all do. So do you think this has any implications for the Aussie market? Or, I guess people kind of, it's one of these things where it happens. Jamie Dimon's doing it. It just kind of de-risks it a little bit more for the banks around the world to go, okay, fine. If banks around the world are doing it, we kind of have to start looking at it ourselves. And right now, it feels like, people mostly just turned a blind eye to it and said, it's just too hard. Let's not worry about it. But eventually everyone starts doing it. It's that sort of game theory of when everyone starts doing it and you're not doing it, you're giving up market share, you're giving up profits to your competitors, and you kind of have to get doing it.
100%. Yeah, slowly at first, then all at once kind of scenario. No, I think it could be one of those 4D chess moves as well, where he pretends to hate it for a long time and then turns around and goes, all right, we're all in.
My
and everyone's
bag's
like, holy
packed.
crap, if Jamie's in, then and we're not in and we're not even hating on Bitcoin, we better get into. Yeah, who knows? But either way, it's not bad news.
Bad news. No, not bad news. All right. What else we got this week? So there's some technical stuff happening on Solana. Solana's proposing a major consensus upgrade. There's a lot of terms in here I don't really fully understand. Let me read this sentence out to you, and you tell me if I should understand this or everyone out there should understand it. ANZA, a Solana Labs spin-off, introduced Alpenglow, a new consensus mechanism. Voters enable dual voting paths. Rota enhances block propagation. Break it down for me.
Isn't it obvious?
Wait. Described as the most significant change to Solana's core protocol to date.
To date, yeah. Well, I mean, this is just sort of a proposal, I think, which might get glossed over. So it's not like it's locked in, ready to go. Having said that, Anatoly, the clear figurehead, the Vitalik of Solana, has tweeted about how awesome this sounds, and he thinks it's an extremely elegant solution to the consensus problem and whatever. I won't go into the technical details, but ANSA is sort of not even part of Solana per se. So they have a bunch of really important guys. They invented the original Solana client, which we've talked about in previous weeks. But they are a third-party kind of shop, I believe. And they've just come up with this proposal and said, hey, look, we've thought about this for a while. Here's an awesome way to change things, make it faster. I guess Anatoly is super keen on it because, his original plan or his guiding light is to turn Solana into the NASDAQ, the block, of
that's
blockchain
right.
kind of
We
thing.
talked about last week.
So this will bring them a step closer. It'll allow for quicker finalization of blocks.
Does this mean anything for the average Solana enjoyer?
No. So, I mean, at the moment, as I say, it's just a proposal, fully theoretical. They haven't started building it. They haven't even, engaged to start building it as far as I'm aware. It's just it's an idea that this ANZA guys have come up with and said, hey, we think we can do a better job. And it looks great, don't get me wrong, looks cool, and I'm all for it. But, and I've been kind of shitting on Solana a little bit the last couple of weeks. This is what they need. They need something to revitalize and move ahead and get past that whole meme coin saga, I think, so they can sort of show how good they are technically and maybe get a few more clients out there for a bit of decentralization.
Okay. All right. I guess, it seems like it's just an idea, so let's see if they actually do anything before we get too excited about
it'll
it.
be years down the track, I imagine. But
Okay. All right, topical then. FX Street is telling us that, this is good news for the FTX, those affected by the FTX drama. FTX to distribute over $5 billion to creditors. All right, this is going to happen pretty soon. FTX plans to distribute more than $5 billion to creditors starting 30th of May. But I guess the interesting part about this is they're sort of distributing stuff at 2022 prices.
yeah, and this has happened before. I think like with the Mt. Gox distribution, it was kind of similar. A lot of people are really whingy about it. To be honest, it's the only option they really have, as far as I can tell. So the way that the Chapter 11 bankruptcy works is you kind of have to draw a line in the sand. You go, okay, here's when we've lodged the bankruptcy. Here's what people's stakes are. And now it sucks that, the price has gone up since then. And so, people are losing out because if it was, in the original currency, it'd be worth a lot more now. Bitcoin is worth, I think, $17,000 back when this line in the sand was drawn. But it's just the way, it's legally how they have to do it. And with the way, FTX was such a mess, right? FTX didn't know where half of the funds and half of the current, assets were. To then expect them to gather up and refund people in the same currency that they lost it in, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah,
it's just not possible. In a cleaner sort of wind up, you can do that kind of stuff. And I think Gemini, for example, was it Gemini? One of those big guys who went through a similar procedure in the last couple of years, gave the assets back in kind, and everyone loved that. And I know with Mt. Gox, I think it's sort of a mixture. I think you could opt to get it straight away in fiat or wait longer and get it in kind, I think. Obviously the smart move was to wait if you could, because Bitcoin only trends upwards at the moment. Just it is what it is. That's how FTX is doing its thing. Anyway, a lot of people are thinking that this could be good because if you receive the Bitcoin back, then people are going to dump it. that if you receive money back,
it might go back into the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Fingers crossed.
This could be good news. Sucks for the people who are getting it recovered, but
man, I heard there's lots of sort of hard stories. One of the ones I heard was actually when I was I think it might have been at Token 2049 back in 2022, when everyone was kind of licking their wounds in the depths of the bear market just after. It was about 5-6 months after the FTX went down, and I remember having a chat to a guy, and I was like, everyone's bags were down. My Bitcoin stocks were down. My Bitcoin was down. Everything was down. You know, it was a bit tough at that point. If we had done this show back then, it would have been maybe a bit less cheery. But I remember speaking to one bloke, and he was telling me, he's like, he goes, "You think you've got it bad?" Like he'd been telling his wife all this stuff, like, "Oh, you know, we're going to have a house in the south of France. We're going to have a place in Bali. We'll get another one here and there." And I guess he had not only had his crypto on FTX, but he also had equity in FTX. So he had been marked up. His valuations had been marked up. You know, heaps. So he was sitting on huge paper gains. Only to watch. Well, the FTX paper value's gone down, and now he's getting his crypto back at least. But it's back in 2022.
2022 prices.
Bad beats.
Devastating.
Yeah, that was a tough one. So hopefully he's doing all right.
I'm not going to check.
It was a passing comment. I should do a welfare check. All right. So it looks like with the positive price action, unsurprisingly, Bitcoin ETFs have seen significant inflows. The block is reporting that we totaling around 3 billion now in inflows in the full week. 1 week, 3 billion. Get that up here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is a similar story to last week.
Last week, Jared accused me of smiling too much. So this week, if I grin too much, like, you know, some smug dickhead on, he's just I'm going to get some other comment about what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah,
anyway,
someone will call you a moron, and it won't just be me this time.
Nick, actually, before we get into this stuff, can you talk us through? Your? We had one of the clips this week. We were talking about before. It was the article, which I have to mention. It wasn't our opinions. It was just something we read, talking about how Trump had been misled, and I guess we didn't get enough context to it. But you know, you really ruffled some feathers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who live and die by the Trump, and that's the way life goes. Apologies out there.
There was one particularly disgruntled YouTuber. What they say? You have the IQ of a retarded field mouse. That's bloody harsh, but also funny.
You must have protected me from that. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
It's okay. We'll run for president next.
You know, the internet just was not happy. But the thing is, I guess we have to clarify. You weren't saying Trump was. You were just talking about the news. Oh, okay. All right, that guy's not going to be happy.
That's so good.
Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETF inflows, unsurprisingly. In fact, that's where 21 shares, they were sort of, I guess, again, they're talking 2025 predictions, over 200,000 AUD value, based predominantly off ETF, not ETF, they said institutional flow inflows, which I guess a lot of that's going to find its way to these ETFs.
Yeah. I think for me, the interesting part about this story is how, where the flows, what type of flows they are, I suppose. So historically, you could look at a lot of these flows and, you know, it's an amazing amount of money coming into this instrument, but a lot of them are sort of working on the carry trade. So while they're buying the Bitcoin ETF, they're selling a derivative. They're short selling basically on the other side, and it's just a delta neutral kind of trade. Whereas these ones, as far as, you know, if you're looking at the statistics, the short trades aren't increasing. And so this is all just directional bets. People are actually going, you know, I want exposure to this asset class, which is awesome. And yeah, it really kind of sets us up for something good to happen soon. You know, we're so close to all-time highs. Oh, no. So close. We're like $2,000 away, $2,500. I don't know what the price has probably changed since we walked into this room, but yeah, you can smell it.
It's doing pretty well. And the other big news, I guess, this week is we're seeing some news out of both Singapore and Hong Kong, two jurisdictions that we're definitely involved in. Singapore, with the licensed business over there, has been going from strength to strength, and it's really fascinating just to see. Even though I guess Singapore tends to have the regulators over there tend to have a more cautious approach with how they allow businesses and whatnot to involve retail money because of the licensing. Like we just see so much like institutional adoption well, when I say institutional, just businesses using crypto as part of their BAU strategy. It's really commonplace.
It's less speculative
Less
and
speculative,
more sort
right.
of utility. I
Yeah.
think.
And so unsurprisingly, we're seeing a lot of RWA stuff happening out of there, but also there in Hong Kong as well, which we've seen some articles about this week. In Singapore, so the big news was that they've given asset manager Franklin Templeton approval to launch a tokenized Franklin on-chain US dollar short-term money market fund, which is pretty cool. Franklin Templeton has been dabbling in this for a while. I remember sitting on a panel with some Franklin Templeton guys a couple of years ago, and they really knew their stuff. They'd been looking at this space and working out ways to really engage. But so is Singapore in general. You hear guys from Stan Char all the time talking about their digital asset division and their plans to tokenize thing, and they're really embracing it, which is such a contrast to in Australia where we're kind of like, I don't know.
Was Franklin the guys who were like
Fund managers?
Yeah, no, but were they sponsoring like the Bitcoin core team as well or something?
Possibly.
I've got a feeling they were doing. I know Van Eck was doing like a certain percentage of their profits was going to the Bitcoin core team. Or maybe,
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe it was Ethereum. I can't remember. Like, either way, yeah, like they were getting their hands dirty. It looked like it wasn't. They weren't just sort of, you know.
No, they were down.
JPMorganing.
No, they weren't at all. They
were
were doing some heavy lifting, and they've done some their research. They've been genuinely delving into the research and looking at the ways. Well, I got the sense when I can't recall the gent's name off the top of my head, but like they were deep in the weeds. Yeah, no, they were all about it, which is a great sign. So I guess that's again the trend is what we're kind of looking at here. Same thing in Hong Kong. They've warmed to RWAs. So the Hong Kong arm of China's largest security broker has just been approved by the SFC to offer tokenized real-world assets in Hong Kong. So again, I guess this is fascinating to see because it's a continuation of what we kind of see across a number of jurisdictions where they're really embracing this real-world tokenization to bring things on-chain. Solana, I know we're talking about them bringing the on-chain NASDAQ, I think it was called, last week.
So one thing to note here, so as far as I can tell with the Hong Kong stuff, it's JPMorgan-esque in that it's a private blockchain kind of. It's not sitting there on public.
Right.
But the Franklin Templeton stuff is on two public blockchains, Stellar and Polygon, I think. However, it is still a KYC permissioned kind of contract, so you can't just go buying and selling these money market shares on the open market. You still have to be KYC'd, and the contract only allows you to send it to other KYC'd people, kind of thing. But still, it's awesome. Like it's showing really great traction.
Do you think this would be kind of like just the nature of things? There's obviously going to be private blockchains, there's going to be public blockchains, and the two of them now, I guess when you've got a private blockchain, it's going to be harder for them to interact. They're just by definition going to be closed-end systems. Does that take a lot away from it, or you think that's just, they're going to have to exist they're going to have to exist side by side?
I do, they will, but in my thing that's always buzzing in the back of my head when I hear the private blockchain is why? Like, what's the point? What benefit are you gaining from this? As soon as something's private, you don't need the blockchain anymore. You should just be using database. I think I might have spoken about this before. Are they now just using the buzzword of blockchain to drum up a bit of interest? In reality, if it's private, no one can prove if it's even blockchain behind there. Like, is there? Do you have miners? Is it proof of stake? But it's private. You own all the stake. Like, what's the point?
It's just you running your own database.
Just run a database. Like.
Selling real world assets now. Apples.
They're off chain.
Nature has tokenized a real world app.
Off chain, tokenized it off chain. No, I think I'm still waiting to understand the real benefit, like the use case behind these private blockchains. I like the idea, and maybe it's sort of a stepping stone, just like the hybrid car to the electric vehicle. It's like it's not the end solution; it's kind of a stepping stone. But if it is the end solution, then all I'm really thinking is, banks, like most major banks, have these huge systems behind them. They're built in like the 1970s. It's impossible to change. Everything is so slow. Like anyone knows if you've dealt with a bank before. I feel like maybe they're just sort of revitalizing those systems, building them with 2020 technology on a fast database, and everything works better and is more modular and upgradable and blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, let's just chuck the word blockchain in there, or maybe they built it on some private blockchain. There's a single validator that just doesn't validate anything because it's private. What are you validating? You're in control of the whole system. You're the one creating the transactions. So I don't know. I don't know if they're real blockchains or what, but
Just
Maybe.
buzzwords. All right. Well,
Maybe I don't know. This is just my hot take on this
all
whole
right.
thing.
I guess we're just gonna have to bin that news. Not really news.
No, it's good. I mean, like it'll whet their appetite, and maybe they'll start thinking about other crypto things. But yeah, at the moment, I don't know what it really means. Like Franklin Templeton, as I said, they're building it on public blockchains. That means suddenly, boom, it's auditable. Anyone can look at the data. You can see on chain what's happening, which is actually useful. But yeah, private, I don't know.
Okay. Let's forget that was newsworthy. The French. Okay. So the next one from Actu News. So they're sort of saying that here we go. A French real estate platform has announced plans to transform into an Ethereum.
God, I hope it's Ethereum.
No, this is with a U, so we're all good. Ethereum Treasury Company. The company aims to accumulate a significant Ether holding and develop DeFi solutions. That's pretty cool. It aspires to be the first publicly listed Ethereum Treasury company.
Is this more sort of? Why would you choose Ethereum? Like, you know my thoughts on Ethereum. Don't get me wrong; it's up and coming. Maybe now's a great time to buy.
The king of controversy strikes again.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, so where I see this sitting, obviously, MicroStrategy was the original company to do something like this. Last week, maybe a week or two ago, they held a massive conference discussing how you as a company can follow in their footsteps. I mean, they've open sourced the ideas and the whole strategy that they took a long time ago, years ago, but I guess maybe this is the first time they've pulled it all together in a massive conference. And I know people from Australia, companies from Australia going out there and trying to sort of network and get ideas. Maybe these guys have seen that and gone, oh, we've kind of missed the boat with Ethereum. With the Bitcoin holding, having a company that holds Bitcoin in the treasury. Let's do it with Ethereum. That'll get some news headlines. I don't know, being a bit cynical here, but it's a cool idea. I mean, I wish them all the best. It's risky. I feel like it's much more risky than doing a Bitcoin one, even at today's prices, which are sort of touching all-time high. There's just, if you're writing your whole company, actually, if you read into this article, it sounds like, so what they do is like real estate auctions, was it?
I'm not sure. Real estate platform.
It's a real estate platform for something along. Anyway, it sounds like they're kind of, maybe their lunch is getting eaten by newer online Web 2.0 whatever companies, and they're like, man, we've got to do something because we're running out of time here. We've built this company up, and so one of them's had the smart idea to become an Ethereum, the first mover on the Ethereum treasury front, and cool. Like I wish them all the best, and it'd be great. It's technically it's a better move, I guess, because they can always stake the Ethereum and at least they're earning yield on it. It's not just sitting on the balance sheet. But it's interesting times. I wonder if there's anyone else going to follow in their footsteps. I feel like most people are going to be doing the Bitcoin route.
If it wasn't Bitcoin, what would you pump your treasury full of if you had to go for one crypto, Nick?
Hyperliquid, obviously.
Hyperliquid. Yeah, right. Why is that?
No, it's just the meme at the moment. I would, if I was doing something as important as, putting the livelihood of my established, decade-long company, I would be putting it into Bitcoin for sure. As much as I like the occasional dabble in something else. Yeah. It's not financial advice.
Well, that's right. I've still got plenty of unrealized losses from what was that token we bought back in 2021? Oh, those Olympus DAO. Ohm.
Oh, how good.
Still got some quality losses from that. So yeah, don't put your treasuries in Ohm.
So you say unrealized. You haven't sold it yet.
That's
it's
true.
It's actually doing okay. Have you checked?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it for 3 years.
You might be rich.
Really?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
One day.
When I say okay, like relative to the very bottom.
Yeah, I know. We've come undone. Oh, we're all good. Power's back on. Okay, next news. So Wisconsin sells some Bitcoin. This made headlines, but I guess this is it's only because Bitcoin's doing well. It looks to be that the state of Wisconsin, the investment board, has just sold a big pile of their BlackRock Bitcoin ETF shares. Yeah. But I think this is more to do with the fact that they've made so much money they have to rebalance it.
Well, no, actually. So they were. It was an interesting one because they were one of the first to legislate that it could happen. Basically, so they got Bitcoin into their the government-run funds like the retiree funds and all that kind of stuff. And it was a bit of a hoo-ha and it was a risky move, etc. Back when they did it. They bought a bunch more late 2024 as well. They like doubled their holdings or something. And everyone's like, whoa, they're really doubling down. And now they have sold all of it.
Oh, they sold all of it.
It's all gone. So they're not rebalanced. At first I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, it must be like, they've got a mandate to hold only, some percentage and they just need to rebalance. No, they've sold it all.
Oh, they've just been. Oh, that's less cool.
Yeah, less cool. There's no real reason, or I haven't seen any reasons kind of come out of it. My initial guess is that probably maybe someone else took over and there's a bit of a decision maker and is like, fuck you think you guys are doing.
Really?
I don't know. This is my guess. Like, why else would you sell all of something that has been performing extremely well? It seems like an interesting, maybe there's other financial issues. Maybe they made some really terrible decisions somewhere else and they need
plug
to
a hole. Yeah.
plug a hole. I'm not sure, but
speculate away.
Yep, I am. I am. You heard it here first. There's a new head honcho and they hate crypto. Maybe Jamie Dimon's taking over.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, here's another one for, I know you love your Ethereum bag, so here's one from Yahoo. Ethereum's considering, let's speculate on this one. So let's go big on this one. Go speculate outrageously. Ethereum considered undervalued by analysts. So throw an opinion on someone else's opinion. But Crypto Quant reports that the Ethereum Bitcoin market value to realized ratio value is at multi-year lows. That's pretty. I think
it's a bad thing, right?
Anyone who looked at the price chart for Ethereum has probably worked that one out. So thanks, Crypto Quant. But historically, such levels have preceded significant ETH price increases. Exchange supply on ETH is at record low, suggesting investor expectations of higher prices.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you see happening here?
I've been obviously like last couple of weeks pretty bullish on Ethereum, and maybe these like technical investors or analysts that they're referring to is me. Our podcast has become so popular that it's now getting referenced in general media. Yeah, I mean, this is just this is the astrology for men.
I love it.
Trading analysis, looking at charts and going to the bottom. So
I know
the only way is up, right? It's like, well, actually, no, there's also down. But no, I mean,
it's some quality gypsy math. Actually, technical analysis. I know some people swear by it, some people love it. It's just lines on a page.
It is
to me, but like
it's based in psychology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I see it being reasonably useful. Some guy I follow on Twitter posts stuff, and he does all the Elliott wave stuff. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. It's like a technical analysis. No. And he just gets it right very often, and he doesn't make big calls, and he calls for, like, he doesn't make outrageous calls, and he doesn't make calls every single day, but every now and then he does it, and I try and follow him, like, and look at the history of his calls. They're pretty good, so I don't sit here and take him as gospel, but I think there's time and place for it. Having said that, looking at a chart, seeing that it's at the bottom and deciding that it must go up is a bit less, like, on more shaky ground for me. But, it has been doing pretty well. If you look at the ETH-BTC ratio, it's been up only since
you said the pickup trade was going to be a good thing?
Yeah, literally. It did bounce off the lows from like January 2020 or something. Mm-hmm. So far it's holding strong. The TA is working.
There's some quality gypsy math that's gone into it. And,
yeah,
I can't see. Ground in psychology. What's psychology? You got?
Okay, so if you think about like, when the price reaches some level that it's reached before, people who bought in at that price and have probably been underwater. This is just a situation, right?
Because if everyone's believing the same theory, I guess.
And as the more people believe it, and then it becomes a scenario where people think that other people will believe that theory, so then they have to follow along because that's where the price is. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I don't know. It there is some truth to it, I think, but it's only like it only works as long as humans are trading. When it becomes all bots, then maybe it's still different.
It's very true. I mean, the price is reflective of what human behavior is suggesting it's worth. The humans have done the calculation. The humans are making the bids and ultimately programming the parameters for what they think makes things go up and down.
You see a lot of resistance and support on round numbers as well, because people just like typing in 20,000 into their their bid, or like 100,000 into their sell. It's like it's an easy number to type. So you get like fancy things like that happening, but
I honestly, if you get really good at reading, there's good algorithms I guess that can understand herd behavior, and if you can understand the herd, which way the herd's going to move nextly. I mean, you see so often that there'll be various memes when you remember those memes that came through, or those like guys, like I guess in rural China somewhere, and they're like pulling a rickshaw, but they've got like a laptop and they're trading iron rebar or Bitcoin or something, right? And there's probably, because just the weight of volume of people and, 300 million people are all like sharing this idea that steel rebar is going to go, I don't know, to whatever price is a really good price for iron rebar. And so it goes high because like you've just, there's, you know what I mean? The people behind it just buying it.
I mean, just look at GameStop.
Like it's a bunch, right?
It's sentiment trading. It's vibe trading.
Vibe
trading is a thing now.
Vibe trading is in. I've seen a lot of guys actually talk about vibe coding. I know this is not in the news, whatever, but vibe coding seems to be a thing. Yeah. Like, what's the meme there? I don't actually get it. Like, where people are just there, just going, I just feel like this will work.
It's all AI. So you get AI to do your coding for you, and you're just like you're just vibing with an AI, and it's pumping out all this code. That's
that's vibe coding.
So we'll have vibe trading.
Vibe trading,
and it's literally a thing, right? DeFi, DEF, AI is like a new sort of meter in the space where people are using AI to do trading. Yeah. And the AIs are great at the moment. Like, they're really incredible stuff. Like, they'll print out charts and show you, like, do the TA for you, and allow you to do this self-fulfilling prophecy without having to think about it too hard yourself. We'll see what happens.
Ah, well, it's good. All right, we'll keep the vibe trading up. All right, I think we're almost done through our highlights.
We didn't really talk about Ethereum stuff.
Oh, we didn't talk about Ethereum enough, and your opinions on it.
Oh no, maybe we did. Yeah. Buy now before it's too late.
Buy now.
No, don't do what I say.
Don't definitely. Oh well, yeah, because you'll get in trouble for financial advice. We're definitely not giving financial advice and all that kind of stuff. Well, we haven't talked about Trump enough lately.
Some clips.
Jared's looking at you going, can you just say something about Trump so we can get more people commenting on our clips?
It's been pretty quiet recently.
Been quiet. Yeah. Trump's been quiet. I guess they're a bit busy dealing with all this stuff.
He's doing the Ukraine stuff at the moment. I think that's what's taking his focus.
Yeah.
But that'll things like that will affect markets. So we'll see what happens. Everyone's calling for a ceasefire. Who knows? I feel like the Ukraine can get as many ceasefires as they want, and then Russia's just going to keep dropping bombs. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Hopefully some peace soon. All right. Okay, well, we've gone through our news articles. Is there anything else we should cover off before we wrap it up? Did we get any comments today?
Just one, someone called you Adrian.
Nice. My head's shrunk.
Oh, they think Nick. So, really? But we said Nick at the beginning. Who knows?
They said we love Adrian's laugh.
Could have been him.
Could have been you.
Yeah.
I don't think it was me. I haven't been laughing that much. There hasn't been anything. Nick hasn't given me anything, any controversial to laugh at.
Funny enough.
And Jared says if I laugh too much, like I look like a grinning idiot. Yeah, he did. That's all right. I didn't take offense to it. Maybe I'm cool with it. All right. Well, we're wrapping it up. So thanks. We're at 40 minutes. Thanks for dropping by again, Nick. We'll be back next week with some big news. Thanks for stopping by and listening in. Any comments, hit us up. I will be reading them all, even if Nick doesn't. I will be reading them all and relaying them on.
Thank you.
And giving a shout out to anyone who gives the best comment
on
Nick's commentary next week.
And as my 3-year-old would say, don't forget Skype.